when you ask what you want and you come from that good, genuine place, if you ask the universe, it's going to come back to you, but you need to be receptive to it because sometimes the universe is trying to give you something, but it's kind of like you're blocking it off.
Anybody that wants to be successful, move and implement quickly. When you just know to raise those prices, you have to follow that feeling, even if the logic doesn't make sense. Like your intuition is always going to override that.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this exciting episode. I have another ambitious, badass entrepreneur, and today we're going to share about how we got to where we are today. I'm someone who earned 50 grand this month in sales with my business in the first week of this month. And Maddie over here is another badass. And Maddie, do you want to share with everyone like some of your successes and like what you do?
Oh my gosh. So I transitioned into business coaching last year in January. In my first year as a business coach, I made just over $500,000 in my business. We're on pace right now to hopefully hit 1 million this year. So it's been super exciting, super fun. I help coaches, entrepreneurs, online service providers scale their online business through simple systems, mindset, embodiment, all that good stuff. So yeah, it feels like we're brand new and we're just getting started and we're taking this to the moon. So I'm so excited.
Yeah, and it's just the beginning. And, Maddie and I were talking about how it's great that we are where we are right now. However, it wasn't always easy in the beginning. And so today we want to share our journey of how we got to where we are today. And we want to provide insights to all of you so that you can make your dream into a reality as well. Because, Maddie and I, like, we didn't do anything like special. We just had mental toughness and we got mentors and we did what it took because we knew that this is what we wanted. And it wasn't a matter of, like, should we do this? It was like, I must do this. So that's why we are where we are right now. So, Maddie, do you want to talk about like where you were in the beginning? And by the way, everyone, like I'm 24 years old and Maddie, you're 26, correct?
26, yeah.
26. So, I mean, we were able to do this very quickly. And so we want to inspire all of you that it can happen fast if you have that drive and that motivation. So do you want to explain, Maddie, where you were in the beginning?
Yeah, so my story again, it starts similar to yours, like working at Panera when we were teenagers, right? And just figuring some stuff out. And I always knew that the corporate life and working in a job just wasn't for me. I wasn't good at paying attention to rules. I hated having to be somewhere at a certain time. And I just always knew. But when you're at that point, sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So I didn't even know then what I wanted to do. So long story short, left Panera, got myself in car sales right at 18. And then that's when I kind of knew that I wanted to be in charge of my own schedule for sure, because it was a commission-based sales position and I loved it and I killed it in sales. And it was so much fun, but I was trading a ton of my time to make the money that I was making. But I loved the service of just helping other people and guide people and just meeting so many new people every single day. I was lit up by all of that work. But I always knew I'm like, I can't do this forever. I'm not going to trade 70-hour work weeks for making five, six, $7,000 a month at a car dealership. And I loved it and it taught me so much, but that was just another reason that I just knew that I needed to get out of that at some point. And then I went back and forth for years in other sales positions to hopefully fill the void somewhere else. Nothing did it. And so finally in April of 2022 is when I decided to start my first business actually in the fitness industry. And my headspace was always just, this is always going to work out if I just don't quit. And I had no timeline on it. I know a lot of new entrepreneurs and a lot of new people always want to say, I need to make the money quickly. I need to see this happen immediately. I want to see these $10,000 months just come in a second. And that was never my mentality. I always knew that if I came in and I just did the work and I loved it, I loved what I was doing, my success was going to be inevitable. And within 6 months, while working a full-time job, I made $110,000 in that business and I loved it. A couple months later is when I switched into business coaching and it's all just been a ride since then, but it's been really incredible. It's been really incredible.
That's awesome, Maddie. And you said something in the beginning that I want to touch upon because I had that too, like in the beginning where like, even when I was a kid, like I just knew like I didn't want to conform to these norms that were put in front of me. Like I was so rebellious. Like I didn't want to stand in line. Like I didn't want to listen. I wanted to do my thing really from a place of like me just wanting to do like what I wanted to do, And so I had like, did you like have that like kind of rebellion mentality, like going against the rules and just like,
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Stepping out of the line at school, seeing how far you can get away with things, like seeing like how far you can push the boundary. I really think it's just like in the blood of people like us. You know what I mean? Yes, absolutely. That rebellious, I'm not listening to nobody but me. Of course. Like, yeah, the exact same thing.
Yeah, I think that really carried on because, like, for me, like, it's always been like an attitude. And I think it's been like a combination of both nature and nurture, because like me, I think it's in my blood too, but I think like just things happening to me, like, oh, growing up with like a single mom, or, like even being fired from Panera, where I talked about that in my last video, even being fired from Panera, like kind of like the external circumstances just really propelled me to want to like do this. And I was like you, where I had that mentality of like, this needs to happen. And even in the beginning, I wasn't like super attached to the result. And I know it could be hard for people listening. Like sometimes you have bills to pay, like you have goals that you want to meet at a certain time. But like when you go into it from that heart of service, from that spot of like, okay, like I know that this is what I'm meant to do, then things are going to unfold the way that they're supposed to. So I know for me, like again, I'm very similar to Maddie. Like first I had a single mom, but then later on I had like all these jobs. I worked at a pizza parlor, I worked at like a cleaners, and then where else? I worked at like a chemistry lab. I was actually studying science, but I was like, this isn't for me. Like entrepreneurship is where it's at. So for me, it was during COVID when I really reawoken to my entrepreneurial spirit. And that's what got me into business. And so long story short, I was making a lot of videos on YouTube and people really admired my consistency. And so that's what made me decide to start my business with teaching people YouTube, but also like how to take that to the next level with like YouTube lead generation. So,
And
so
you
that's,
followed the passion, right? Like you
yeah.
followed what you knew just felt good. And I remember when we were even talking about when you got fired from Panera, the next day is when you made like one of your first real YouTube videos, right? Or you started really making the ones that just came from your heart and the ones that just felt good for you. And I really do believe that, of course, we have to work hard to grow a business. Of course, you have to work hard. Nothing that's worth having is ever going to come easy. But I do believe the easier the work feels, like the more money you're going to make. I really do believe that. And that's something that even for me, because I'm a hustler and I loved hustling. I was a fitness coach for a while and I knew how it was like you got to go to the gym, you got to show up, you got to count your macros. But I know for me, I've made the most amount of money when I wasn't putting so much pressure on all of the things that I felt like I had to do. And I just allowed myself to follow that intuitive feeling. And when I had full clarity on the goals that I had and what I wanted, showing up was so much easier. And it just is so much easier to do it. It's the same thing for you. You just started creating these videos, not because you felt like you had to, but you felt like you got to do it. And then slowly you found a way to build this business and teach other people how to use the skills that they have and create something so amazing for themselves via YouTube. But that started with you following the feeling. And I do think sometimes people mix this up a little bit because they jump into entrepreneurship or they think that the secret to taking their business to the next level is just like grinding and working hard and hustling. And I do think those things are important for certain seasons. But if you're hustling and working hard, not in the alignment, and you're not really doing what you know that your soul is calling you to do, none of it kind of means anything. And it's so easy to show up though when it feels so good. And like that's exactly like what you did. And it's exactly what I did. And it's just, I think other people just need to really hear that. Like you can't force yourself into something that's not in alignment for you. And the reason that you and I have gotten so successful so quickly is because we were doing the things that we know that our soul was put here to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember too, like when I got fired from Panera, at first it was like a cloud of darkness. I was like all anxious. I was like, oh my gosh, like what am I going to do now? So I actually went into like a darker state of depression before it really clicked for me. It was so weird. It was like I was depressed, but then like a burst of creativity came up. Oh, look, that's a weird thumbs up right there. Distracted, but anyway, we love Zoom. Anyway, as I was saying, it just felt so right. Like it just came to me like, are the creator? Like I am a creator, are the creator. And that's when I started my whole brand with it. So like sometimes you never know what's on the other side of like a difficult situation. And Maddie's right. It's all about following the feeling and following your intuition and just knowing that this is what you're supposed to be doing. And even when that hit me, even when I knew, okay, are the creators what I'm supposed to be doing? It's so funny because all those past resistances kind of diminished because I used to think like, oh, what would people think, like how am I going to build the website? Like how am I even going to upload a video with the right thumbnail and title? Like it was like, no, like I just like the how just came to me. When I knew my why, it was like things just fell into place. I didn't know how to make a website, but I figured it out within like 3 weeks because I knew that this is what I was supposed to be doing. Was there some initial fear? Oh yeah. I mean, but it takes courage to do
Of
it.
course. No, of
Yeah.
course. I love what you're saying right now so much. And it's like you start it, and of course, like it seems like all of these things fall apart, like how you got fired. And this actually even reminds me of when I transitioned from fitness coaching to business coaching. And at this point, I had a sustainable fitness business. I was pulling in like 20 to 25 grand a month on reoccurring revenue. And I was about to sign like $50,000 of contracts. This was in June of last year. And I knew though, in order to go fully into my business coaching, I had to let go of the fitness coaching because I just didn't have the time to handle both of them. And the scariest thing I did was pull the plug on like almost $50,000 of contracts in my fitness business and let go of the guarantee. And then after that happened, a couple things like hit the fan, like shit hit the fan in other areas of my business that weren't so exciting. And in my head, I was like, I'm getting what I asked for. Like I asked to be expanded. Like I asked to go bigger. Like I asked for more than this. And then when all of these things happened, like kind of like how you got fired, like you got to have the fire for a second. And that's just giving you like what you actually want, like those struggles, those hardships that you ask for. Like sometimes you need to be prepared with going through those difficult things to be better on the other side so that you can be better for what you really want. And every single time that anything that has ever happened to me that has been not super fun in my business, whether it was growing pains, client experiences, programs that did not feel super aligned for me, on the other side of those things were like my biggest breakthroughs, like literally ever. Like my biggest breakthroughs, the biggest quantum leaps. It's kind of like your quantum leap that you literally just had over the last couple of months. Like when you just fully opened up the doors and allowed yourself to follow that feeling and that real just creative, like there's more to this than the how, it's the who to be while I'm doing it. You should share about that. You really
Yeah,
should share about
I do
that.
want to share about that. So first off, I want to talk about a book, Ask and It Is Given, because
Mm,
the whole concept in that book is
yes.
when you ask what you want and you come from that good, genuine place, if you ask the universe, it's going to come back to you, but you need to be receptive to it because sometimes the universe is trying to give you something, but it's kind of like you're blocking it off. And so it really starts with asking the right question. So for a while, I was like, how can I make more money? How can I make more money? But it was all me, me, me. And so I started asking the right question. I was like, okay, how can I help more people? How can I make more of an impact? And I remember this was my turning point. I was like, I'm ready to unlock my next level of evolution. How can I do that? That's what I asked. How can I do that? And it's kind of like you mentioned something where like when you go through a breakthrough, it's kind of like you shed things that don't serve you. It seems like shit is hitting the fan, but that stuff is actually happening for you. And so what
Yes.
happened for me, I think another big turning point for me was that I decided to change my target audience, my dream client. It used to be someone who didn't have a YouTube channel, who didn't have a business, but I was like, you know what, let me help someone who's already thinking like an entrepreneur, who already has their foundations in place. They just want to get to that next level. So that was another turning point for me. So I was shedding all these older clients and I was taking on these newer clients. And it was like a kind of like an anxious process because like things in the business are changing. But that was like the turning point for me. And another big turning point was just deciding to increase my prices, not because, for vanity's sake, just to be greedy. It's like, no, like I know my worth. I know the value of what I'm doing. I see how people can earn a return, how this can benefit their life, but not just their life, but their audience. Then I was like, that was a turning point for me. And then just this first week of May, I signed on a 15K client and a 30K client. And then also some other clients. I got a bunch of people signing up for my one-time session for 750. And so it was kind of like all at once. Like starting this May. I don't know if anyone listening is like woo-woo, but like Mercury retrograde, the eclipse and the full moon apparently has like energy. And when that was done, I felt like a clear wave. Like springtime, it's like spring, that energy. So yeah,
Yes.
that was a big breakthrough for me. And honestly, Maddie, you really helped me a lot with that, with just stepping into my authority, who I am, owning it. And yeah, I'm grateful for you for helping me with that.
Well, you also did it very quickly. And I think that this is something a lot of entrepreneurs really struggle with. Because I even remember when we talked, I think it was in January, about who your real ideal client was, like who you found the most joy serving. And it's not that anybody that isn't in that category is bad or wrong, but like as you grow and you develop more expertise and skill sets, that's more aligned for a specific kind of person. And I think when you just fully allowed yourself to accept that, and you created offers with price points that were a match for those specific people, they were in alignment with it. Versus before, the services were still as good, but somebody at that caliber might have looked at those prices and thought, is there something missing here? Like, is this too good to be true? Like, because people that pay attention, we know. But when you have a premium service that delivers a life-changing transformation, there are people that really want to pay for that. And people know like the price is the reality for a lot of things, and like you clearly delivered on that service over and over again, but you implemented that very quickly. And most people take months to go through that transition of like slowly incrementing. Like you doubled, tripled things, and your ideal person changed, and you started calling in more of those people. And it only makes sense that you are where you are right now. And like now you'll just keep leaping when you just continue to follow that feeling. And that's just really how this gets to be, which is super, super exciting. But you move quickly. Anybody that wants to be successful, move and implement quickly. When you just know and you have that feeling and you just know, and I know, Ari, you just knew that you were ready to raise those prices. If anybody has that feeling, like you have to follow that feeling, even if the logic doesn't make sense, like your intuition is always going to override that.
Yeah, absolutely. And my advice for people listening, if you want to take those leaps as well, first off, come at it from a place of, okay, this isn't a get rich quick, but this is me stepping into my power. This is me helping people to the level which I know I can. So what it really took was just not overthinking it, because everyone listening, like, you know what it is that you need to do. You know what it is. It's just you're not doing it. You know that you could be doing more, but you're not scheduling it in. You're not actually implementing it. Like really pay attention to your habits. Like you may think you want this, but then at night it's like, oh, I've been on my phone for 2 hours, like not getting anything done. And so that's my advice, is to not overcomplicate it. And if you do take a leap like I did, where you are helping a different type of person, like I didn't disregard like the people who are beginners with YouTube and business. Like I still have an offer for them. I have my course, but in terms of like where I put my direct focus to by one-on-one clients, like that definitely upgraded. Maddie, do you want to talk about like the evolution of your business? Like, did you experience anything like that ever, where you had a big quantum leap or a big upgrade in who you were serving?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started business coaching, charging for business coaching in January of last year, I was charging $800 a month for 4 calls a month, 24/7 access to me. And I was tired. And kind of like you said, like the clients that were there, they were great people, but they just needed a lot more. And that's, again, that's not bad or wrong, but I also had courses and other things available for those people that it actually would have been a better fit for them at that point. Because I believe closer proximity coaching and what I've experienced, and maybe this is what you've experienced as well, it's for people that are past the basics. It's past what do I say right now for people to buy? It's past how do I create my URL? It's past how to set up a link tree or all of those things. And I found myself answering a lot of those questions in the beginning, and that was not the work that lit me up. And so sometimes too, some people just have a different zone of genius. So my zone of genius is not the techie side of entry level business owners. Other people, though, love it and they could do it all day long. It's just not for me. So I found that when I just honored my zone of genius, and my zone of genius is helping other people find their magic and really fucking believe in themselves and do the things that they know that they need to do to upgrade to that next level, like the embodiment work, the identity work, the breaking through the limiting beliefs, and like looking in the mirror and knowing who you are work, so that you can actually show up as the person you need to be to make money. Like I can talk about this all day. Like I'm lighting up right now. That's the work that I do. But for somebody at a beginning level, it's just not, they're just not there yet sometimes. And like that is totally okay. And sometimes they are and they have that mentality, but there's still some foundations that need to be set. And I'm for somebody that's a little bit more at a level where they're just ready to just go bigger and they know that their block is them. So for me, after a couple of months of just helping these like entry level people, I started doubling, tripling, quadrupling my prices. So it was like $800 a month, January, February, March, April, like $1,500 a month. And then I slowly started raising everything until my one-on-one coaching was $4,500 a month. And until this day, like that is what it is right now. So I was at $800 at the beginning of January. And at the beginning of January this year, I like 5.5x those prices. And the kind of person that calls in is a little bit different, but they're at a level where I'm able to operate in my magic. And they're also at a level where they're able to receive that kind of magic and do something with it. Because not everybody just gets to be at that point. But yeah, it just continues to happen as time goes on. And yeah, it's kind of cool though. It's like as I get to grow, like I get to go bigger, and then my clients get to go bigger and experience different things as well. But it's just like a natural part of evolution and growing in your business, I think.
Yeah. And it's so funny because people listening might be like, wow, in order for me to make that money, like I need to like work more, I need to take on more clients. But the reality is like if you just know your own value and your own worth, then you would feel comfortable charging those prices because you see the value in it and you know that it would help someone else's life. So just everyone listening, like know that you don't need to like work like harder to like reach that point. But another thing as well, like a lot of it, it's so funny. A lot of this is like a personal development journey. I think it's being more of who you are, stepping into that biggest version of yourself. I truly believe that everyone is kind of like they have the ability to be like this like I don't want to say, let's say like superhero, but they have like this ability to be like this amazing version of themselves. But I feel like everyone's kind of toning it down a bit. They're not fully owning it for whatever reason, or that they're like afraid to, or society took a toll on them, or they've been working this job and now they're kind of like the zombie. But that's really what it is. It's just being more you. And it's so interesting because when you do that, the clients are so much better. like, they're, like they're such like a bigger pleasure to work with. They value you. They respect you. This has been my experience. They value you more. They respect you. They appreciate you. They're raving fans. They recommend people. Whereas those people who I used to do the same, I was charging like you like $200 a session, and I would
Yeah.
meet with them every week. They would always text me, and that was great. But my gosh, like they were so needy. They would point fingers. They would disrespect me. Like all these things, and so it's like when you level up in your business, the people who you attract are those higher level people. So it's kind of like the law of attraction almost. It's like
Yeah.
you get back what you put out.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more with that. And sometimes something too that I like to think about is that I'm glad though that I took on a lot of those newer people that just needed more support, like they needed more handholding, because that allowed me to explore like what I was actually good at and what kind of service I actually wanted to provide for the specific kind of person. Because again, I do believe there are some people that are really just good for these beginner people. I just know that it's not me. And it's not, I mean, there's, like in my opinion, it's more exciting to work with somebody that's already at a different level. And it's not that somebody that's new is bad or wrong, but at the same time, you do attract a different kind of person, charging a certain price point and actually owning your skill set. And in my experience, people that charge very low price points for their services, their coaching, their one-off sessions are the people that don't really feel really solid about their work. Because if they felt more solid about it, they would raise the price because they knew that the transformation is worth more for their ideal client. So when you charge less because you don't feel like it's worth enough or you're not confident enough, guess what you're now an energetic match for? Somebody else that's not very confident in what they're doing, somebody else that is struggling with wordiness. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. So what you put out there, low prices, you're going to attract people that are also attracted to low prices. They're looking at the price versus the end goal of the service. So it's like, it only makes sense that when you get somebody to come in that's paying a super low amount, that you're going to be met with that kind of energy. And it's just really owning the fact that the people that, again, are the ones that are going to get the best results. They're not looking for the cheapest solution. They're looking for the best solution. They're looking to quantum leap. They're looking to take themselves from where they are now into where they want to be, not in the cheapest way, but the best way, because they're so focused on the service. So the low pricing, it's not only a disservice to you, but you're calling in another person that's also at that headspace of lack, not confident, that kind of thing. So that's why that stuff happens all the
Mm-hmm.
time.
Yeah. I want to bring something up to the audience because many people listening, you're not just a YouTuber, you're not just an entrepreneur, but you're like a conscious expert. So in other words, you genuinely like want to help people, but of course we want money to be a byproduct of that. And a big trap that a lot of these people fall into, these conscious experts coming from the heart of service, is that they want to be accessible. They're like, yeah, I and Maddie, I get what you're saying, but I want my services to be accessible to my target audience. And so you can still have offers that are accessible. You can have lower ticket things that are accessible, but in terms of like the hours that you need to put in every day, like for example, one of my clients that I'm working with right now, she wants to be with her family a lot. And so she created offers that are in alignment with that, so that she can be with her kids and then also serve her audience. But is she charging like $27 an hour? Like, no, because her time is valuable. She wants to be with her children. And so I think a lot of people have like different money blocks. Do you want to talk about that, Maddie? Like, what are some money blocks that people
Oh,
have when it comes to charging what they're worth?
this is one of my favorite conversations. And this is actually something I dig into a ton with my private clients and even people in the mastermind. But the money block thing, it's all about usually like how you view, again, yourself. And a lot of this comes from people pleasing tendencies. So people that are afraid, and this is based on my experience, they've been afraid to charge the prices that they want to charge, like you said, for accessibility. But they're not realizing that the people, again, that want the result, the dream clients that they have, because they say they want to work with these dream superstar people that are willing to do the work, they're ready to do whatever it takes. that person's at a different level mentally than somebody that is just looking for a cheap price. And the best way that I can explain this to people, and I've said this before, is if you want to go on a dream vacation and you were given the choice to choose between three resorts, resort one was $1,000 a week, resort two was $5,000 a week, and resort three was $7,000 a week. If you're looking for the best experience, you're immediately eliminating resort one. Why? Because like perception is reality when it comes to these prices. Like you're just going to totally get rid of that. So for your dream clients that you know you were put here to serve, that they're ready to do the work, they're ready to do what it takes, charging too cheap is actually a disservice to those people because they're going to be turned off by your service because you're so worried about people pleasing other people and charging super low amounts for people that are not even going to do the work anyways. I also did something on this where I proved this to myself and I knew that this worked. I had a course for like $800 last year, and it was just an entry level build a business course. It was $800. It was great for a new person. Okay. The people that went into this had great results. They enjoyed it. I sold the exact same kind of thing, a little bit different, a little bit less support for like $200 at the end of last year. The results were totally different. The people that paid more for it did the work, got more results, and they were more likely to finish the course versus the people that spent $200 on it. Most of those people didn't even make it like 50% through because you know how we can go back and look. The people that pay more pay attention. You do a better service and you're more likely to change the lives of people when you charge what you know that you're supposed to be charging. And you weren't put here for everybody to be obsessed with you and for everybody to be able to access you. You were put here to change the lives of a very small amount of people. And I would rather help a small amount of people a lot versus help a ton of people just like a little bit. Like that's what I was put here for. And when you think of it like that and you realize you're selfish for discounting your services and charging really cheap because you do your dream people a disservice, this is what really starts getting to people to think about like their money mindset and their issues there.
Yep. Quality over quantity.
Always.
I'm like you, Maddie, because I have my membership and it used to be priced really cheap and there was quantity. However, quality, like people weren't showing up. And if they didn't show up, it's like a downward spiral. If you don't value it, you're not going to show up. If you don't show up, you're not going to learn the material. If you don't learn the material, you're not going to implement, you're not going to get your questions answered. It's a downward spiral. Let's think of the opposite, same exact product. If someone is charging what they're worth, someone is energetically invested. They're invested, they show up, they ask their questions, they do the work, they get the result. So isn't it in service to them to charge what you're worth? Otherwise, it's kind of like you're just taking their money.
Yeah, it's the Planet Fitness versus the Lifetime model. I don't know if you know like those two gyms. Planet Fitness, $25 a month for like their black card membership. You can go to any gym for $25 a month. Lifetime's between $150 and $200 a month. And the quality is totally different. The kind of client they attract is totally different. And Planet Fitness, their entire business model banks on the fact that they know that you will not go to the gym. Most people that have memberships at Planet Fitness don't use them. But again, their business model is big quantity, but charging really low prices. But I just couldn't imagine wanting a business model knowing that most people are not even going to use it. Right. It's like, well, we can charge little because we're going to get a lot of people, but we have to hope that 70% of the people don't use these gyms. And they're right. Most of the people don't use the gyms because they're not bought into it enough. Versus a lifetime membership or an Equinox Fitness, you're paying hundreds of dollars. You're way more likely to show up. Also, the person that's investing in a more luxury gym, they're in a different mindset about their health and their fitness. That's the people that those people cater to. It's why the gyms are nicer, and it doesn't make one bad or wrong. It's just a different business model. But when you're in the service of people, and you and I both know like what we do takes energy, showing up to calls and helping people, serving people, it's worth our time more to talk to the people that are really ready to make those decisions and do those things that are necessary at that time versus charging super cheap, having the same conversation and begging people to take action over and over again, because that's just not where our magic lies. You and I are not here to convince people to move. You and I are here to serve the people that have already made the decision that this is what they want to do in the first place.
Right. And like you talk about too, it's like getting married. Would you rather flirt with the person who doesn't want to be married and you need to convince them? Or would you rather flirt with the person who knows they want to be married? They're just looking for the right person. You don't need to
Yes.
convince them. You don't need to force them. That takes energy. And it's better to talk to the person who already wants to get married. And yeah, and like you said, with the two business fitness models, like one isn't bad or wrong, but also realize that people are investing in the result. I bet you if you look at their clientele, the people who get the results are the people who are charging more because they value their health, they're showing up, they're going to the classes if they offer them, like that sort of thing. So it really is the result, everyone. Some people, like, let's say there was someone in our niches charging something for like 20 bucks a month. Do you really think you're going to value that and get the result? Probably not. And so, with that being said, I actually want to talk about content with you, Maddie, because we're talking a lot about business, but what really gets someone attracted to you and in the door is your content and the energy that you're putting out. Do you have any content strategies that you want to share with the audience about how you get people in the door with what you have?
So this is actually going to be very funny because I am a business coach. I don't have my own content strategy. And what this means is I don't sit down and think about what do I say and how do I put this in pillars and what do I need to set up because I'm launching this month. I've never ran my business like this. And for the first 6 months of me having a business, I didn't even understand like what different kind of content meant. I just knew that if I showed up and said the things that I knew needed to be said to activate my dream person, that people were just going to come into my world. I knew that it was just up to me to show people. I knew where they were at. Like I knew what they were doing. I knew why they were struggling. I knew how to take them to exactly where they wanted to be. And I am the perfect person to do that over and over again. That was the thought that I had every day. I never thought about what do I have to say today so other people buy my stuff? Like what can I say to convince somebody to move? I've never operated like that. I've always operated from, I know exactly where you are. I'm the perfect solution for you. You are crazy if you're not in my world. And if you have that inner belief, and again, just that knowing that you were put here to serve people at that level, and you just know that this is what you were supposed to be doing, the content will just flow out of you. And sometimes this takes time. A lot of this is your confidence and your mindset work too, because if you don't believe you can change people's lives, you're not going to change anybody's lives. And people are not just buying what you're saying, they're buying you. They're buying your certainty and your conviction in yourself. That's what leaders are looking for. And I know that this might have not been like the perfect, like traditional, like business coachy thing to say. But again, like when I work with my clients, I'm not working with my clients and saying, well, this is what you need to say today to attract in your dream people. Like we're like my clients are past that point. It's like, who do we actually need to be behind the scenes as the person that we know, like we would even want to buy from, like that we would want to work with, because that's what this actually really is about at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So it's more of a mindset than like an actual strategy that you do to attract
Yeah.
people. Yeah. Yeah, I have that too. Like the mindset that I have going in, and a lot of people like they really fixate on the views and the comments and oh, what will people think? But that's something that you really need to let go of in the beginning because it's not the right metric. It's not the right
Oh my
metric.
gosh.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's not the right metric.
I need to touch on this really fast. I
Go
did not
ahead.
look at my analytics for like the first year on my Instagram. I didn't even understand how to use like the professional dashboard. People are like, "What's your engagement rate?" I'm like, "I don't know what my engagement rate is." Like I'm here to have a good time and show people that I can change their life. When you get all caught up in the numbers and you get all caught up in the data, you lose that magic that got you into the door with starting what you wanted to start in the first place. And I'm not going to say that not knowing sales strategies and stuff like that is fine. Of course, like you should know some entry level sales. I was in sales for 8 years. I knew how to conversate and talk with people. But what I am saying is like those things are only going to get you so far. Like when you're fully owning your magic and you're not worried about the numbers and you're focused on the service, that's when the numbers actually show up.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And like everyone, a good exercise to do is to post content. And one thing I like to do is I like to have other people like review it and just say like, oh, what did you like about this content? What didn't you like? Because a lot of times you'd be surprised, like there's certain aspects of your personality and your energy that people really resonate with. So for example, like I talk about YouTube and business, but when I started talking about my passion for the ocean, people are like, oh wow, that's amazing. Like, I thought you were just doing this for the money, but I could tell like you really want to donate and contribute to the ocean. So like everyone, the message for you is to really embrace your personality in your content. Your content doesn't just need to be about your niche. Like even you, Maddie, you post about your dogs, what you're doing like with your family, things like that to build that emotional human connection with others because like your brand isn't just about your niche and your business, it's about you. And like what Maddie said, people invest in you. And it's so funny. One time I was in one of my group calls, I was looking around the room and I was like, oh my gosh, half the people here are from Indiana. And that's the state where I grew up in. And I talk about that in my content. And so psychologically, they built a connection with me like, oh my God, I'm from Indiana too. And is it a coincidence?
Yeah.
Half of them were from there? Probably not, because statistically there's 50 states. And so the message is to embrace you, talk about things outside of your niche, like your stories, your thoughts, your experiences, and don't be afraid to, like have a different opinion than someone. Like it's okay.
Oh
Like,
yeah. I
yeah.
could not agree more. That audacity and owning who you are and not worrying about who likes it and who doesn't.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people fear this because the idea of like a hate comment or somebody saying something bad about them online paralyzes them. But what we have to remember is somebody is not going to like you either way. And as you get bigger, you're going to get more people not liking you. Would you rather someone not like a fake, watered down version of you or like not like you? I would rather someone not like me for being totally me versus not liking like a half-assed version of me. So when you realize you're going to lose either way, like you're going to get people that are like awful either way, it kind of doesn't matter and you stop really thinking about the noise. And I've gotten so much hate online, especially in the fitness business. I don't know if you've seen my posts about this, Ari, but I've gotten videos stitched with like millions of views, people like dragging me, telling me they wish I was dead. But then it makes me think like these people are in such a sad, not great headspace. And it makes you have more empathy for those kind of people versus getting angry at them. And when I realized like the only people that hate on people publicly, especially online, are people that are just really just going through something that I don't understand. It made it a lot easier for me to accept those things and just take everything with a grain of salt. Because everybody's fear is being visible and then somebody not liking it. But like, if someone doesn't like it, that has nothing to do with you and everything to do with them.
And it's so funny, everyone. The reason why one person doesn't like you is the exact reason why another person buys.
Mm-hmm.
For the longest time, I was getting so many comments about my age, about my ethnicity, about being young, and that's the exact reason why someone else would buy. Not just for those things, but also because of like, me sharing my opinions, me sharing my experiences. People would trash on those, but that's exactly what resonated with someone else. And so
Yes.
you experienced that too, didn't you?
All of the same things. Yes. Like even like the like you're too young to know what you're doing is somebody else's version of like I need young fresh eyes on what I'm doing. It's again like it's just two totally different opinions. And again, there's nothing bad or wrong about either one of those things, but like again, if someone's in your comment section hating about your age, hating about your ethnicity, like is this 1950? Like what are we doing, right? Like that says way more about these people than it will ever again say about you. And again, people, when you get more of those hate comments, you get more people just loving you as well. Like, and those are always the more abundant one, right? Like the people that love you are the people that are there the most. And there's way more of those people that are showing up versus this tiny percentage of people that are just really going through something on a personal note, right? Like, I want to say they're assholes, but they're really just hurt. And when I look at it like that, it just makes it so much easier to read the comments and not take anything personally because it's not personal. It all is just like a reflection of what they're going through. So that's something that's totally helped me with the hate.
And just realize something else, everyone. The way our brains work is our brains picks up when something threatens our survival. So when you get a hate comment, it's literally activating the part of your brain, that fight or flight mode, because you want to defend yourself. And you have to realize that majority, if you're coming from a good place, majority of your comments are going to be positive. 98%, but our
Oh yeah.
brain fixates on the 2%. So it would be such a shame, like if you let that really get to you, if that affected the way you showed up in your content, the way you post. I heard of someone told me that they knew of a TikToker and they let a comment literally stop them from posting anything. They were like, I'm done with this. Like, it just really got to them and they stopped. Like, what a shame. Like, you're on this great mission. You were helping all these people, and majority of people like found you helpful, but you stopped because of one hate comment. And Deke Graziosi said something. He was like, because he gets hate comments, he has a big audience. He was like, if these negative comments is the price I have to pay to serve all these other people, I would pay that every day of the week, every second of the week. I
Oh
would,
yeah.
because it's worth it. It's not even a big price, if you will. You don't even need to pay attention to it, especially when you get to that point where like he has like a team of people looking at his comments. Like it's like it
Oh
doesn't
yeah.
affect him. It doesn't affect him at all. If anything, it's benefiting him because it's improving the algorithm. Didn't you say that one video that got a lot of hate? Didn't you say that it also led to sales for your business?
Oh yeah, the two videos that I've ever had on TikTok that have gone the most viral, I made more money in those 2 months than I had made in like a 6 month span of that time. Because while those videos got a lot of hate comments, it also pulled in the people that really resonated with my message and the way that I was saying things. So it's like it's a price payoff, like it really is. And this is with anybody that's successful, that's making it. Any celebrity, think of any celebrity, any big entrepreneur, even think about like the Tony Robbins. I remember when I was talking to a family member about Tony Robbins, this was years ago. And of course, they go on Reddit and they're like, oh, he's a scammer. I'm like, of course, you're going to find people that are going to think that about people that are successful. Like, people will look for reasons to prove themselves right if they're not in a headspace where they believe that they can have the life that they want. So, like, if somebody is not in a good, or they're not, I don't even want to say good because I don't want to make it seem like it's bad or wrong, but if somebody doesn't have a belief that they can grow a business and that they can do whatever that they want to do with their life and that they're in control of their destiny, seeing somebody like Tony might be really triggering for them. And when they're in that headspace already, the negativity, they're going to look for reasons to confirm that belief to be correct for them. But does that mean that it's true across the board? No. And think about it even with really high level other coaches. Like people be like, oh, I worked with this person, it was the worst experience, but to another person, it was like the best thing that they ever could have done with their lives. So just remembering that like there's a duality to everything and not letting yourself take anything like that very seriously is what's helped me just be able to continue to trailblaze and move forward and like stay away from the noise. And another thing too, everybody that I know that's so successful, we're not focused on the 2%, the haters, the people that post things online or take things to a Reddit board or make videos talking crap about it. Like you already know how those people are doing. Like successful people are not focused on the negativity and what's not working. They're like trailblazing and propelling forward. Like those people see right through it. So it's again just another example that like your ideal clients are not focused on that. Like they're focused on moving forward and creating something bigger and better for the greater good of everybody. And they're not worried about the 2% that's a little bit crazy, you know?
Yeah. That actually leads me into the next thing because, being an entrepreneur, being a content creator, it really takes having a lot of skills and abilities, and a huge one is mental toughness. Maddie, you just recommended a book to me called Mental Toughness by Frizella. I'm looking at it right
Andy
now.
Frisella. Yeah,
Yeah.
look at
I
I
can
have mine like literally like right here too.
Oh, wow.
I
Mine's like right. I can't reach it, but it's like right over there. Anyway, in that book, that's a really good book. I mean, they're a bit like, what's the word? Kind of tough on you.
it's intense. Yeah, it's definitely intense.
They tell you things the way that they are, but it's one big thing of being an entrepreneur is mental toughness. And if you think about it, like if you're watching us and you want to be an entrepreneur as well, you want to be a high level content creator. One important thing to look at is, okay, how mentally tough are you? Like if a little thing happens, if your uncle tells you like, what the heck are you doing posting on YouTube? Are you 14? Things like that. Like, are you gonna let that get to you? Or are you gonna like flick that off like it's nothing and then continue with what you're doing to the point where next Thanksgiving that uncle of yours is like, oh wow, you made 50 grand in a week with your channel? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like, yeah, fuck you, uncle. I'm not just kidding. But no,
No,
seriously.
literally though, yeah, fuck you. I'm going to the bank, asshole. Ask me for nothing ever again, right? You were not believing in me when you were making fun of me for starting like my little influencer channel, right? But no, this is so true. And this happens to people all the time right in the beginning. I even remember when I started my fitness page, like this is like a perfect example. I wasn't like your typical, and I'm still not like this skinny fit girl. Like I never had like visible abs, like I was healthy, but I wasn't like the stereotypical like size zero, like washboard abs, Gymshark girly. And like people would tell me, like in my real life, that like that place is saturated. Like fitness is really saturated. It's like you're not the typical fitness person. And like of course you do take it to heart for a second, but I always knew that like nobody could be me better than I could be me. Like there could be a lot of really amazing fitness girlies out there like doing workouts, making meals, like talking to the camera, but I'm like nobody has my approach. So like while there are a lot of other people out there doing it, like nobody can do Maddie better than Maddie can do Maddie. So like just because there's a lot of people out there, that doesn't mean that I don't have something to say and like that I don't have a gift to give to the world, because I think a lot of people don't start and they don't continue is because it's saturated. There's too many people doing this. There's too many people selling this. I can't sell this because this person's doing that. Nobody can do you better than you. Like nobody can do what you're doing better than the way that you do it. And this all comes back to that conviction and that self-belief and that confidence that you have in yourself and your belief that you were put here to really change people's lives, and your ability to believe that you were meant for something so much bigger than you can really understand in the given moment. But if you follow the feeling and you let go of the noise, it all always comes together like better than you could ever imagine. And I remember telling myself when I first started my business, and I remember thinking, I'm like, it's always going to work out if I refuse to quit. And there's going to be a lot of shit. There's going to be a lot of noise, but I know I'm put here to do this work, and I refuse to let anything interfere with that path. And I'm just going to keep moving forward, have my blinders on. And that's exactly what I did. And that's exactly how I got here. And that's exactly what's going to get me to that next level. There's always going to be more people. There's always going to be competition. But when you realize like, you're not really in competition, you're in a playing field with yourself, because nobody can do you and be you better than you. Stop trying to fit into an industry, be your own industry, move forward, and watch the people that are going to see that and come with you.
Yeah, no, I love that. And that actually leads me to want to like really summarize some of the big takeaway points in this whole conversation. So everyone listening, these are the big takeaways. So just remember to feel good about you, fully own yourself, and see what comes to that. Don't be so attached to outcomes, but be open to receiving and just see what comes to you. And then with that, like continue on. Things are going to get hard, but just remember why you started, who you are, why you're doing this in the first place. And those obstacles, you'll find a way around them. It's not going to be easy, but if it's a matter of, okay, this needs to happen, not this should happen, then things are going to fall into place. And another thing as well is I encourage all of you to really sit with yourself if you're experiencing like any money block, like, oh, like if I'm not charging what I'm worth, like really try to get to the root of that. Why aren't you charging what you're worth? I was just talking to a client right before this, and she was like, her thing was because I grew up poor. And I talked to her and I was like, let's really get to the root of that. And we did, and we really unraveled that belief that wasn't serving her. And that one thing alone is going to explode her business. I already know it. So those are the big takeaway message. Do you have any more you want to add to that list, Maddie?
You are always like one decision, one podcast episode, one book, one conversation with a mentor away, like from completely changing your life. And this is just something that I really realized over the last couple months too. These random things that can happen when you just choose to be open and receptive and you follow the feeling, even when that feeling doesn't sometimes logically make sense, but you know in your core it's what your intuition is pulling you towards and it's what you're supposed to be doing. Like always just follow the feeling. There's going to be fear, but if you follow the feeling, like that is where your soul is meant to be. Always. And it could take, yeah, one conversation with the right person. One podcast episode. There might have been something you heard in here that just made you think about something differently that might propel you to go take action and like completely change your life. Like just remembering that those things are always out there and always available to you. Like, and it's going to happen if you just choose to keep your eyes open. And if you refuse to just take no for an answer, you're going to have everything that you've ever wanted and more. It's inevitable, but just follow the feeling. Don't force it. Don't make yourself feel bad if you don't find it yet, but always just follow the feeling and focus on becoming the best version of you. So if you're ever lost, just focus on becoming the best you. How can you take care of the best you today? What can you do for you that's going to feel the best right now? That is what's going to take you to like everywhere you've ever wanted to be.
I love that. I want to put that in a slightly different way because you're spot on. And the way I see it is follow the feeling, follow your intuition. And I see it like taking steps, taking messy steps, not perfect steps, but messy ones. You know, you
Oh
might,
yeah.
you're like she said, like you're one thing away to getting to where you really want to be. Maybe you're on a podcast. Maybe you do a live stream. Maybe you do a speaking gig. Keep taking those steps. And it shouldn't be a thing of like, oh, I did a podcast. I didn't get any leads for my business. Let me just quit. It's like, no, this is the journey. You got to continue to take messy steps, continue to take messy steps. And even maybe something like a step that you took a long time ago takes off. I was just talking to a client before this, and she was like, yeah, with my YouTube channel, my two viral videos, they didn't go viral until a year after I posted them. And
Exactly.
so, but she continued to take steps because she was consistent with her YouTube, which is why YouTube eventually recommended those videos. They went viral, and that's why she got to where she is now. She didn't post those videos, and then the next day she was like, "Oh, it's only got 30 views. Let me just quit." No, like she knew what she was doing. She knew why she was here, and she just continued with that. She followed the feeling, she followed the intuition and the mission, and she knew that it was going to happen. It was a matter of when,
Yeah.
if.
You know the book, The Power of One More by Ed Milet?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like literally that exact mentality. It's like you're always one away. And it's like, why quit when you could be one away? And like, again, it's not just the one. You keep going, like you keep listening, you keep following that feeling, and you're going to get to where you want to be. But I love that example of like something that she did, like the seed that she planted a year ago caught up with her because she didn't quit. Like that's how it is. And imagine if she quit and she didn't like keep posting and then she saw that video pick up later on or something and there was nothing being built, there was nothing else there was no foundation. It's like this is where people shoot themselves in the foot. But no, I love the way that you said that, and it's true. You're always one away, and then you're always one away from that one, and if you always just keep going, like you'll see how good it like really gets to be.
Yeah, people are really tied to expectations, like right from the get-go, like short-term gratification. I think that really comes down to society and just the way things are. Like, oh, you eat sugar, short-term gratification. You can now there's there's apps where you can order groceries. There's dating
Oh
apps
yeah.
that literally hook up with someone in an hour. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So it really takes a lot of like reprogramming yourself so that you are wired for that long-term gratification. And if you have that, everyone, along with everything else we said, I mean, you're gonna make it.
Oh yeah, 1,000,000%. And I'll say one quick thing on that too. It's like the rich people would rather experience like I don't even want to say the pain, but like the discomfort right now for like a lot of comfort later versus like the poor people like would rather experience comfort right now and then experience a lot of discomfort later. Like the people that make it really big do the uncomfortable thing that they know that they're supposed to be doing right now. They're not waiting until Monday. They're not pushing it off. They're like leaning into that feeling because again, it's like that intuitive pull and nothing worth having comes easy. And then those dividends pay off in the long run versus again the people that don't, they focus on the short-term gratification, not feeling that discomfort now, and that's why they always start over on Monday. It's the same thing with like the diet industry. How many times do people kill it for Monday through Friday, they do great, and then they destroy all their progress on the weekends, and then they start over on Monday and they put themselves through this negative feedback loop. But if you choose to lean into the discomfort and do the thing that you know you are supposed to be doing right now, even if it's scary, even if it feels hard, that's the road that's always going to get you to success and everywhere that you've ever wanted to be.
1,000%. Yeah, I know to get to this point, I mean, I did crazy uncomfortable action. I mean, I've invested, my first investment was 10K in Tony Robbins Business Mastery. I did 45K in a mastermind, in-person mastermind here in San Diego. Another mastermind, 15K, and then all these coaches in between. It's probably, I don't even know, I should add it up to the exact amount, but it takes having trust in yourself as well. When you take those leaps, like, do you trust in yourself? Do you trust in the process? I've invested in stuff and it didn't turn out the way I wanted to, but did I point fingers at them? I was like, no. I was like, lesson learned. Did I learn something? Yes, but I'm gonna keep moving forward with this. So beautiful Maddie, where can people find you?
On Instagram, follow me on Instagram. Maddie Cousin is my name. You'll put it in the description, I guess,
Okay.
so people could just click on it. But I'm a lot of fun over there. I would love to connect with you guys.
Yeah, she's fun. I love Maddie's content.
Thank you. It's fun, it's spicy, but you're gonna enjoy it. You're gonna have a lot of fun over there.
Yeah, she will. Okay. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye.